I feel like I have to explain why you're probably not going to see much of Millie being ridden from now on for a while. A couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, we're not sure yet. I suppose we have to go right back to the start to kind of explain the situation, I suppose. Right back when we got Millie, the first day I brought her, I wanted to try and lunge her. For some reason, she wouldn't lunge. She literally wouldn't go around. She would just kept turning in, looking at me, and I thought maybe she doesn't know how to lunge. But then I was like, no, I've seen videos of her lunging. She knows how to lunge. But no matter what I did, she would not go around in the circle. Eventually, I got her to go around, and I was thinking, wow, what if we bought? Like, was this a huge mistake? Anyway, we got her going on the lunge. Sasha started riding her. It was never that easy. Her turning was a bit odd. She kind of wouldn't turn in a certain direction. She used to turn the wrong way in the corners and kind of stick her head through the fence. It was all a bit, we put it all down to lack of schooling, lack of strength, being a young pony, etc., etc. Eventually, through hard work and dedication, and saddle fit as well, we were putting it down to we couldn't find a saddle that would fit her that was just small enough, short enough, and wouldn't slip up her neck. So we took months waiting to find something that would actually stay on her back. And that's when we found the Posh Pony pad, which has been working fantastic. So that didn't move anyway. So we know she no longer had saddle fit as an excuse for whatever, not performing the way we thought she should. Anyway, months and months then of working, of flat work, pole work, strengthening, flexing, all the usual kind of things you do with a young horse to get them stronger. Sasha was doing a lot of her riding was in walk and trot, and that was okay. We sort of tried a while ago to get her to canter, and Sasha's cantering was very inexperienced, and then Millie wouldn't canter very easily, and it was all just a bit hard. We got someone else to try and canter her, and that didn't really work either. So we kind of said, we'll just, she was happy to pop a fence. She could trot around a course of fences. We'll leave it at that. That was okay. They did that great. Millie would canter away from a fence. That was fine. She jumped a lovely couple of courses. She'd trot to the first one and then canter away from the first. So she had a lot of lovely rounds, and I mean, you've seen some of the rounds that she's done at Pony Club and at different show jumping events. We got her going quite nicely. The canter never really came. No matter what we did, no matter who rode her, they couldn't get her to canter. And then eventually, with me with the schooling whip and Sasha asking very clearly with her aids, we were getting her to canter, but it was a bit rushed and it was unbalanced and it was never that easy. A lot of times she just wouldn't go forward for her, and then eventually she would go forward, and just recently then she wouldn't actually she'd buck every time she went in. That was the transition to canter was followed by a buck every time, and I just thought this just wasn't getting any easier. There's got to be something wrong that she's finding this so difficult and for so long. So eventually I got the vet out. So that was just over a week ago. We initially got the vet out. She had a look at her. She said she was very stiff in her neck, put her hands down her back and said she's very, very sore in her back. Took her out and we gave her a lunge, and straight away she saw that she wasn't sound. It's not like a really obvious lameness like you would see in the front end, but she was definitely unable to kind of come through with her back legs, especially in canter. And there was a slight head bob on one rein. I think it was the left rein, in trot as well. And we'd sort of seen a little bit of front leg, what looked like head bobbing in the trot, and we sort of thought it was her front feet, and that's why we put the shoes on, and we thought that would help. It ended up didn't really help. Didn't make her any more willing to go forward. So that was all kind of confirmed that she wasn't sound. There was something wrong with her back, and that vet recommended getting x-rays done of her back. And that was fine. So we did that. 2 days later, we took her to a vet and we got another workup done of her. They did all the flexion tests. Nothing was coming up through any of her limbs that were sore. Again, her back was coming up as the area of soreness. So he did the x-rays, x-rayed her back and her neck, and he did a lot of x-rays on her back. And eventually, through all of this, he came to the diagnosis that she has kissing spine. And it was, she was always a bit girthy and a bit, she hated you grooming her. And I was putting this down to ulcers or something, because I never really thought it was her back. So yeah, that was a bit of a shock, but we don't know what we had expected going to get the x-rays done. It was great to have a diagnosis that we knew there was actually something wrong with her, that she wasn't just being a cheeky pony. I suppose, yeah, you hear stories of horses never really coming back into work after kissing spine diagnosis or treatment. It doesn't work. They don't kind of have a ridden career after that. So yeah, we were given a plan from the vet which consisted of starting her on anti-inflammatory painkillers, and then a period off the painkillers, and then a period back on the painkillers, and starting to introduce some work on the ground. So a little bit of long reining and lunging. We're only a week into now since the diagnosis, and she's still on the painkillers. To be fair, I was kind of hoping that we would have seen, a difference in her having been on the painkillers. She still does not like me touching her anywhere around her belly, her flanks. Yeah, I don't know, is it too early to see a difference in her after being on the painkillers? I'm not sure. Anyway, so we haven't really done much with her, bar getting her to do stretches with her head and neck, getting her, because we did start clicker training. That's kind of come in a bit useful, because she will touch a target now, so we're getting her to touch the target and to really lower her head and neck, because I think that is kind of core to the rehabilitation and treatment of kissing spine without sort of things like surgery, because you need to get their head low and stretching over their back, and they need to be strong in their back and core. The other thing that we always find with Millie was that she was much better behaved when we went somewhere else rather than at home, which was a bit odd, but we always find that. Bar the one occasion when we went to Coachford, if you watch that video, she bucked a lot that day for some reason. But in general, we were out at Pony Club. She did Pony Club camp the full week, never put a foot wrong, never stopped at a jump, just literally flawless. And I mentioned this to the vet on the day of the diagnosis as well, because the arena we use is very deep. So a lot of horses on our ponies struggle with it, and it's quite tiring for them. And I said, can that contribute then to an issue through her back? And he says, absolutely it can, because her core will have weakened. She's not able to use her core because of the deep ground. So that's another thing, we just can't use the same arena anymore with her, because it just doesn't work. She's just not able to use herself correctly. So that's a bit of a shame. We were very lucky to have the arena to use, and obviously it's coming into October. The weather's wet, the ground is, you can't ride in the fields. So any of our work going forward is going to be on the road and any piece of dry ground that we can find. So in the meantime, with this all kind of happening, obviously there was Pony Club rallies coming up and a lot of show jumping leagues coming up over the winter that we had planned to do, and we thought it was a bit of a shame that Sasha would miss out on all of this. I mean, we have Poppy, but Poppy's only 3 and I don't want to overdo it with her. I kind of feel like we have one damaged horse. We don't want to do too much with the other one in case that causes problems down the line with her. So we want to just do little bits and pieces with Poppy. So I managed to find a different pony, PJ, that we could take on loan. And that's where we introduced PJ. So PJ is 12'2". He's a little piebald pony, and we didn't really know much about him apart from he's 7 years old.
Loose.
The people that had owned him just weren't doing much with him. The kids just weren't doing a lot with him, and he agreed to let us take him on loan. And so far we've had him 3 days. We've had him in the arena once, and he was very well behaved considering I'm not sure he's had that much schooling in the arena. He walk, he trot, he canter perfectly, pop a little jump, maybe not the most athletic yet, but I'd say he's been out of work for a long time, so or at least not in proper work where he's actually gotten a bit fitter. And we've had him out for a couple of hacks and he's been very, very straightforward. You know, Millie's always very sharp, very spooky, whereas he's a bit more laid back. He still looks at things, you know, you can say he's not done that much kind of hacking and stuff. He kind of looks at stuff, but not in a dramatic fashion that Millie would. So we have him now on loan for the next couple of months anyway. To see how we get on, because we don't know what will happen with Millie and how we'll get on with him. Hopefully we can get him to the point where he'll jump a course of 50s or 60s. You know, if he's doing that, that's, you know, plenty. That's all we can ask for. So fingers crossed. So then in a couple of months we'll know better what we're going to do with Millie, and if she can come back pain free, hopefully under saddle as well. But again, you know, time will tell how it all works out with her, whether we what we do in the long run. Anyway, so that is our little bit of an update. You'll have to stay tuned for how we get on with PJ. And we're wanting to go clipping him tomorrow because runs very warm. He's got a lot of thick coat and he's quite heavy set. They just run warm, like, and with a little bit of work he just gets so hot so quickly. So we need to get him tidied up so that he can go to Pony Club Rally on Saturday. So yeah, watch this space for how life evolves after a kissing spine diagnosis. Thanks for watching.